My name is Tonya Curry, and this is this week's Acumen Media Report. It's entitled Instigators Revealed, Vaccine Hesitancy, and Rise Ramaphosa. I watched how the Daily Maverick dropped files on the instigators according to a social media study, and the statistician in me just can't let it go. There's a saying in our industry, stats will do what you want them to. Stats will change your point of view. We don't tell you outsiders that. We think you understand that already, and that's a big mistake. I've been doing these reports for years. The weekly review is just an interpretation of the statistics generated by our clever machine. Data is only valuable if it is interpreted accurately. That's our message to market, and never has it been more prevalent than it is today in the hunt for the instigators of the insurrection. Sounds like a horror movie, right? I put the names through the machine. I picked three. The three that all of us know about. Every single social media user knows exactly who the big names were of the social media call to arms. That doesn't take a statistician to work it out. It takes a layman. Duduzane Zuma, Duduzile Zuma, and Ngwezi Mchunu. You know it, I know it, but it appears the government doesn't know it. Here are the facts over 30 days and the proof based on a machine and a human being who knows how to read it. You'll find this more a visual report than it is an audio one, so I urge you to visit Acumen Media's YouTube channel so that you can see the actual statistics working in front of you. You see, in the Daily Maverick study, the brief was wrong. We go through this all the time in our world. The brief resulted in an analysis of a set of bots, computer-generated social media users, for those who don't know what it is, rather than who those bots were used to spread a message about. And isn't that a better way to measure the impact of the main voices of the insurrection within the social media space, rather than just measuring computer activity? Now that's a brief, and we did that. Over 30 days, Duduzane Zuma was mentioned more times than both of the other influential voices combined. He gets a 56.3% share of voice against Duduzile and Mchunu. There were two massive peaks to the mention of Duduzane, the man who's not on social media, remember? And both are in the build-up of the imprisonment to Zuma, and then there is a consistent wave of conversation before the insurrection, and then another peak while the insurrection was taking place. Duduzile Zuma peaked in the middle of the July with her comments on Zuma and arrest, and then her constant narrative about hotspots for looting. However, she wasn't half as loud as Duduzane's presence, and then Mchunu is seen peaking just before all the chaos broke loose, and then his narrative follows Duduzane's after the failed attempt at a coup. You'll see that his name has now started to rise in the graphics due to the Bell hearing where he was named as a flight risk. The next graphic really interested me. This was not a South African conversation. The globe is littered with those three names. The story is a global one, and Duduzane Zuma, featured in the charts in black color, takes over the whole African continent and a great big chunk of the Western world. This was certainly not isolated to South Africa. If we zoom in on that picture and start to look at South Africa in isolation, much of the conversation wasn't even in KZN. Who were those people in Cape Town and Gauteng that made such a noise? Well, we can answer that. We zoom in even further, and now we look at Gauteng. And what if I told you that we could tell you exactly what was posted in those particular areas? And you'll see that Gauteng and its surrounds was a massive hotspot for conversation related to the insurrection and the call-in of South Africans to loot their own country. Who can answer those questions? We can. So now we know who had the loudest voice, and we also know what names were used and where those names were used. So the next question is, what influence did those three names have? And the answer is an enormous one. There's about a 4-to-1 return. So for every one mention of those three names, at least 4 people engaged with it. They said something or took some sort of action on social media. And this gives us a collection of social media conversation that results in almost 1 million responses. Duduzane Zuma got the largest response, and Mqunu managed to get at least 3 people to every mention. When we have a look at the share of engagement and we put them side by side, we start seeing a fascinating thing. Duduzane Zuma, although with more posts, has a very related engagement to Mqunu. So in other words, his name was used less, Mqunu that is, but he had a very high impact. So no wonder they're keeping him in. At Acumen, each of these can actually be opened and we can read each granular line. And here's one more interesting chart that shows you how effective this technology is and how easy it is to find the so-called instigators of the insurrection. We are able to bring out the biography, so the name of the individual behind each of those posts as they choose to display them on social media. Remember, this is public knowledge from a public platform. And when we have a look at them, you'll see names like Julius Malema, you'll see the fake Duduzane Zuma accounts, you'll see Duduzile Zuma's account, all come through very, very strongly. So thank you for indulging my insights report, but I suppose we should get back to the weekly report. I want to talk about the COVID vaccine. I'm going to use my own personal experience and take it as you wish. My mom and I were unwell about 5 weeks ago, and this was after we stood in a busy line to get mom's first Pfizer shot. A hotspot for wellness, a hotspot for illness. So here we were after mom's jab, and we had sore throats, headaches, chills, and body pains. We hoped for the best, but feared the worst. We did the right thing. We went and got tested. We were even given a dose of antibiotics, and then we were sent on our way. 2 days later, the results came back as negative, and we were so happy. No Delta variant here. We felt better in about a week, but I myself couldn't shake the fatigue and the sore throat. The symptoms were weird. They would be here one day and gone the next. And then a week ago, we heard that the vaccines were in town. Again, I live in a rural community, so we use the grapevine communications. We never received any sort of notification by government or from the EVDS system. I went because I heard that they had the J&J vaccine. And for some unknown reason, I have this perception that it's the Rolls-Royce of vaccines. And it's only one shot. Couple this with the fact that my best friend has moved overseas and I'm fully intent on seeing her lovely face again. So my brain said, sign me up. And I ran with it. I had the jab and had a fun day out with the Gogos and Nelly. I had this national pride thing going in my head. You're doing the right thing. And then the cheeky thought that I might be able to see my mate sooner than she thinks sent me straight into that hall with a smile. Both Nelly and I were good for a couple of days, and then it hit us. Fatigue that I felt once before, over the first wave where I didn't go for a test. A fatigue that will let you sleep this instant without a second thought of the implications. Headache, a sore throat, body aches, nausea, upset tummy, and a headache that death metal would be proud of. Today is day 8. I went to the doc, mainly because of the sore throat. Another set of antibiotics and a result that said, girlfriend, you're brave to have taken it when you weren't so well. Be kind to yourself. Digital vibes, Zwele Mkhize and whoever is our health minister now. I have some questions. They are my questions, they are the nation's questions, and they are simple questions. So I'm sure you can help. After checking reputable news sites, we are told that some of us will get symptoms from the vaccine, but we're unlikely to die. A bit like COVID. What are the odds here? Unlikely doesn't make me feel so confident. If you have had COVID and you didn't get tested, like most of the nation, how long should you wait before taking the vaccine? Is it likely that the BCR tests are not accurate, specifically when testing for the Delta variant? Do we need boosters for this variant, as they are saying now in the UK, USA, and Western countries? The government keeps banging on about vaccine hesitancy, but there is a reason for it. If it makes us sick, and we have so many unanswered questions, you will find that hesitancy. Here's more questions. If these vaccines are effective, how long does the efficacy last? We are hearing again from reputable sources that the J&J vaccine doesn't last very long. What does that mean? You see, Mr. President, we are willing. We stand in the queues and we trust you. So please just answer simple questions, and even if you respond with an I don't know, that is also an answer. I'm sure we actually don't know these answers. And by admitting that, you will demystify what we are experiencing firsthand. Another thing, Mr. President, did you really miss the opportunity for a cabinet reshuffle? Why haven't you culled the rot? You've had the perfect opportunity. Please tell me you are brave and strong enough to still do it. I was so hoping our resounding response of Stronger Together and This Is Us was so very loud. That We Will Not Be Played was deafening, and we took to the streets to clean up what happened, to show you our allegiance. You called it. You said it was an insurrection, and we agree wholeheartedly. Please act on it. Don't pay attention to bots. Look at who bought them. I'm Tanya Curry, and this is this week's Acumen Media Report.